Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith, and this is a video that's been a long time coming. I've done yearly unhauls on this channel for the last 3-4 years, I can't remember, and this is a big one. This is going to be quite a lot. This is sort of an unhaul with me video, live vicariously through me if you're having a hard time getting rid of books. It's a brutal book purge. I think the last time I probably got rid of books was just before we moved house, which was in June of 2021. So it's been about a year and a half of accumulating books, and we're just going to go through everything today. I'm going to go through all the books on these shelves, I'm going to go through all the books downstairs, I'm going to go through the pile of books that I've already technically unhauled but haven't actually got rid of, and together we're going to pare my collection down to the essentials, the books that I love, the books I want to talk about. Just this is going to be a little bit of a book collection tour, a little bit of an unhaul, and a little bit of a putting my shelves back together again kind of video. It might be a bit of a long one. I'm going to film it in multiple stages so I don't get completely burned out. Let's go! The way my books are set up in this house is that I have a bunch on shelves that are downstairs in the living room that really I need to replace those shelves because they're very old and very not in great condition, but that is a future me who has money kind of project. And the other half of my books are up here in my office. Most of them are on these shelves. And then there's a fair few piles of things that just sort of live around me. So the goal is to get all the piles off the floor and onto some shelves somewhere. And alongside that process, I'm going to get rid of the books that I don't plan on rereading. That's my rule for keeping books. Am I going to reread it at some point in the future? That would be good. If I'm unsure, if I'm a maybe, it comes down to if I wanted to read this again, how quickly could I obtain a copy of it? Would that be very easy for me to do? What am I planning on doing with the books that I do get rid of? I think I'm going to try and zip at them. I am notoriously bad at getting to the stage where you actually get rid of the books. They just sit in piles in my house. So this video is going to end with there being no books left in an unhaul pile in my house. Maybe one or two if I've just read them. A couple of disclaimers. One is that there's my general disclaimer that some of the books you're going to see were sent to me for review. Thank you so much to people who send me things for review. I'm not being paid to show them to you now, and nobody is paying me to talk about them. I'm going to talk negatively about some of the books that you might like, or I might talk positively about a book that you hate. These are just my own opinions. I'm just living my life. Sometimes things just hold negative memories for me, and you just have to deal with that. And lastly, there are going to be some authors that come up in here that might have been involved in various scandals and things. I think for the most part, I'm just going to cut those bits out. I'm not going to worry too much about it because I don't want this to turn into here's all these authors that were absolutely cancelled kind of video. If a book comes up that you think, oh, I think I gifted Judith a copy of that book and she hasn't mentioned it, or indeed, I'm sure Judith talked about this in the past and that's weird that didn't come up, that's probably why. If you want to find out about authors that I don't mention, you can look them up yourselves. That's not the kind of channel this is. I don't know what order I'm going to edit this into, but I'm going to start by showing you all the books that are in my unhaul pile, because I want this to be the juiciest, most in-depth video that you could ever imagine, where I'm just going to show you all the things, because it was requested by my dear friend Asher, and I'm willing to put the time and effort into editing for Asher, and also because I need to make sure I split things out into arcs and finished copies, so that I don't end up selling arcs, because that is not allowed. These are in no particular order, these are just piled up because they've been piled behind my desk for quite some time. Akata Witch by Nadia Korafor. I reviewed this recently. I'm not continuing on with the series. I don't think I'm going to want to reread it, and if I did want to reread it, I'm pretty sure the library has a copy. The Mary Kondo, thank you for what you did in my life. Let's pop this in a pile. This is an arc of The Stars Undying. I started this, I didn't love it. I don't really want to finish it, and I think I can probably get a copy if at some point in the future I do really want to read it. Arcs to do things with pile. Some of these are from very old overbooked videos, which is going to give you an indication of how long they've just been kind of sat around. This is the Mask of Shadows duology by Lindsay Miller. I liked these well enough. They are a bit too YA for me now, and I don't like the sequel enough to want to reread the first book and then miss out on the sequel loads of times. They're leaving my life. They were enjoyable while they lasted. Goodbye. This is a very old arc of Master of Sorrows by Justin Cole. I did actually enjoy Master of Sorrows. Again, I think there is a review up for it, but I haven't heard great things about the sequel, not in the sense that it's terrible and problematic, but just in the sense that I don't really want to read it, so I'm going to unhaul it because we're not keeping books around. Let me zoom out just a little bit. Let's get a little bit more frame in here. Guinevere Deception and the sequel The Camelot Betrayal. Asher very kindly read the third book for me and told me that it didn't do any of the things that I wanted the third book to do. I love some of Kirsten White's writing. These are not books that I particularly enjoy. We're saying farewell. Another more recent arc, this is The Ballad of Perilous Graves. This is a really interesting topic, a really interesting book. Wasn't for me, didn't love the writing style, don't particularly want to reread it. If you watched videos earlier in the year, you'll know I didn't like Scorpica either. It was kind of a meh book. Some of these don't have much to say, they were just not great. I have friends who really enjoyed Mother Gothel. This was another one that wasn't for me. It felt very kind of just a bit of a downer, and it wasn't what I wanted from the book, and I don't want to read it again. This was a recent read, Jadefire Gold. This I bought a hardback copy. It's always a little bit bittersweet to get rid of a hardback, but realistically, I am not going to read this again. 2-3 years ago me would have loved this. Me now, I'm okay, and if I did want to read it again, I could. Assassin's Orbit, this is an arc, but it wasn't like sent to me for review, and I started it, and I wasn't loving it, and I'm just not in the mood. It's not going to be for me. Goodbye. A Radical Act of Free Magic is the sequel to the Declaration on the Rights of Magicians, which is a book that I didn't enjoy, and I read 100 pages of this, maybe 75 pages, and it really annoyed me, and Napoleon talked to the Kraken, and maybe for some people that's a great book. For me, it was just too much. Too much. Which is Steeped in Gold, I was hanging on to through my last Unhaul because I knew I was going to read the sequel. I did really like the sequel. This is actually a YA duology that I really rate, but I'm not planning on rereading it, so I'm going to pass it on to someone who will love it more than me. Yet another indication that I have not got rid of the books that I said I was going to get rid of months and months ago. This is the Rebel of the Sands series by Alwyn Hamilton. I like this. I don't want to reread it. I've outgrown it somewhat. Someone else will love it. Goodbye. Another arc, this is Extasia by Claire Legrand, another one that I enjoyed. I had a decent time with it. I didn't love how the ending played out, but overall, if you want kind of like vaguely religious culty books in your YA, this would make a good read for you. It's just not one that I'm going to pick up again. Or the arc stack is already probably too high. Get rid of the things. I thought I had the third book of this. Maybe I've hung on to the third book. Or maybe I passed it on to somebody some way. Or it'll turn up while we're doing this filming. These are the second and third books in the Curse Breakers trilogy by Bridget Kemmerer. I didn't like this trilogy very much. Goodbye. Isles of Storm and Sorrow, this is another series that I did enjoy. It's a really great trilogy. I have a review for it. I think it peters out towards the end. I wasn't planning on rereading it. Someone else will love these. And the last book in that pile of books that I've been meaning to get rid of for quite some time is Rune of Kings. Now I know what you're thinking, Judith, you love the Rune of Kings. It's a great book. Yes, it is. This is a duplicate. I owned the paperback copy and then I bought a shiny hardback to fill out my collection so that all of them would match. So I'm just saying goodbye to the paperback, but I have the hardback. We're not criticising that book. Oh, it's a dangerous stack, but we're gonna get through it. Next list is the books that were in piles around me while I was filming this, because these are things that I hold up in videos and then put down and then never know when to talk about again, or they're TBR books that haven't made it onto the shelves in any way because they've just come in. I filmed like a YouTube short for them and put them to the one side. I'm gonna go through them now. I don't think many of these are gonna be unhauls, but I don't actually know. So let's start. The Bitter Twins, I'm keeping it. It's a great book. We're gonna get to the rest of the series as we go through, but I am gonna start taking the bookmarks out of things where I spot them. Yes, I'm just gonna make a pile of these. That's fine. That's some stamps that I need to get switched to the new stamps on the to-do list. Warrenbreaker, I am going to get rid of. I started it. It wasn't really for me. Didn't gel with me. Bright and Breaking Sea, I haven't read yet, so we need a TBR pile. That's going to be right here. These are the kind of things that I had on my list that I needed to film reviews for. Some of them I have film reviews for. Children of Memory by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Loved it. Keeping it. But it's going to go on the shelves downstairs because that's where the rest of the Adrian Tchaikovsky is. Fractured Infinity by Nathan Tavares. Now this is the kind of thing where I think, am I going to want to reread this? Is this something I'm going to want to pick up again? And I think with this, currently I've read it so recently that I don't know yet. So this is going on the keep pile. It's going to go downstairs, and if by the next unhaul I'm feeling differently about it, it'll go then. So this is going on the go downstairs pile. Ocean's Echo I would like to keep, and I want to get it onto these shelves somehow, so that's going keep, but go on these shelves. Monsters We Defy is on the TBR. Neil Yang's The Ascent to Godhood is on the TBR. You tell we're in a bit of a TBR stack here. Aliette de Bodard's Red Scholar's Wake, The Red Scholar's Wake, also on the TBR. The Protector of the Small Quartet, book 4, is somewhere around here. We'll find it in the progress of this video, I'm sure. These are staying upstairs because I need to film my Tamara Pierce video this weekend, but afterwards they are staying, they're just going downstairs. Film a video pile. We're getting there. Companion's Guide to the World of Lunaria needs to go downstairs. Kaikei, staying, going on the shelves, if I can find space. The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, this is to remind me that I need to film the Worlds We Make video, so popping that on the video pile, but that's staying, obviously. The Well of Ascension is going downstairs. All the Brandon Sanderson is going to live on the downstairs shelves. Karen Lord's The Best of All Possible Worlds, I would reread in the future. I think I'm going to put it on the downstairs shelves. What's my criteria for doing that? Let me expand on that. I'm trying to keep this to books that I mention in videos a lot. That might be my vague criteria. And also it's kind of almost rainbow. So those are my two things. And black and white books go on the bottom shelf, which is also where all the plug sockets are. So they just get shunted around. So I try and minimise the amount of books there. So that's also a decision-making part. Age of Assassins by R.J. Belker. I'm in the middle of this series at the moment, and then I'm going to want to film a video for it. So this is going on the video pile. Fire Becomes High by Rosie Thor is a book that I actually really enjoyed. I thought this was going to be a read it and unhaul it kind of book, but I had a good time and I would reread it. And I think I think this can stay on the upstairs shelves. Joanne Harris's Honeycomb, I really, really enjoyed. I thought this was great. I will reread this in the future. It's going on the downstairs shelves because there's some other Joanne Harris downstairs as well. Poison Song, Winnowing Flame Trilogy, staying on these shelves. I do actually need to film a video for that though, so maybe we'll move both of those onto the video pile. Sorry about that. I dropped a bunch of books on my laptop and it paused the audio, so we had to start again. What was I doing? I was putting these two books on my video pile and explaining that it's because I am a very visual person and I like the visualness, just the visual of a stack of books that need to be reviewed so that I can work that stack down. It helps me. It helps somehow. And then this is the Hero of Ages going downstairs with the rest of the Brandon Sanderson. I have two Grady Hendrix books here, Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires and My Best Friend's Exorcism. These were upstairs because I was filming a YouTube short about them maybe 4 weeks ago. I'm going to pop these on the downstairs shelves as well, just again, they're not going to be visible on camera, so they may as well go downstairs. The Tiger at Midnight by Swati Tudala is up here because I just finished it maybe 5 minutes before filming this video. So I'm holding on to this for now because I have the sequel. It's that shelf is too packed, but the sequel is just here. I'm going to finish both of them. I suspect this may be an Unhaul duology. It depends how the second book goes, but this is going on the film a video pile, I guess, for now, and then it'll either need a video filming or it'll need unhauling, so we'll decide then. Blood of Assassins I'm currently in the middle of, so it's going on the TBR pile. Ditto Warbreaker in the middle of it, going on that pile. A Restless Truth is staying until I buy the hardback copy of it, which I need to do possibly this weekend, and then I will probably unhaul the ARC so that I don't have duplicates, because I'm trying to reduce the amount of duplicates I have. And then the last book is The World We Make by N.K. Jemisin, because I need to film a video for it, so it's going on the pile here. Watch as this gets to like this high. That would be embarrassing. We're doing well. We're doing very well. I'm going to move to this shelf just here, and what I'm going to do is just literally work all the way along it, and we'll see where we get to. Here's my Kindle. I'm not unholding that. That's just my Kindle. We can also clear some of the gubbins off. This is just a little sticker of a turtle. Always pleasing. This is Little Felted Dogs, easy projects for making adorable pups, from a friend who knew I was into needle felting. This is going in my needle felting box. It does not need to be on these bookshelves. Unraveller by Frances Harding. It's obviously staying and it's going on these shelves because it's beautiful and I loved it so much. Did I film a review for Unraveller? Yes. I feel like I did. This is the problem. I can't remember anything I've done. We have to check now. Well, I think possibly the ship has sailed on Unraveller, so we're gonna pop that on just the keep it pile and it'll come back round in Overbooked in the fullness of time. I have two Horizon Zero Dawn comics. These were sent to me by Titan Comics. I think I am gonna unhaul these just because I can't really see myself rereading them, so someone else will enjoy them greatly. I do love Horizon Zero Dawn though, and if they had posters of the full covers, I would be all over that. I would smother my room in them. I love Aloy so much. These copies of Lore Olympus are staying. I have volume 1 and 2. I'm waiting until the Illumicrate volume 3 and 4 come out and then I'm going to order those. So I need to put some money aside to do that, but they are staying. These are slightly awkwardly shaped. I'm running out of space. Deadly Education, Scholomance Book 1 is staying. I really enjoyed that series overall and I would like to read them in the future. Becky Chambers, she's obviously staying. We love her. Girls of Storm and Shadow. Am I going to reread this series? I have three books here. Oh, let's come out. There we go. This one, and this one. First one is the Fairy Loot edition. Am I going to read them again in the world that we live in with the finite amount of time I have left on this planet? Am I going to read these books again? I think I'm going to need to make a maybe pile. I'm going to need a maybe pile. This is going in the maybe pile. My copy of The Starless Sea, not only did I really enjoy this book, but this was a gift and it has a lot of sentimental value, even though the cover is slightly wounded. We're hanging on to this one. I also really want to do a reread of that. I should be making more lists. That's a future project. Strange the Dreamer by Lenny Taylor. This is the Blue Sprayed Edges edition. I'm keeping it. I love this series. Nnedi Okorafor's Binti, I'm actually going to unhaul. Not because I didn't enjoy Binti, but because I want to buy the bind up. And I can't buy the bind up if I own book 1. Well, I can. Nothing's stopping me, except myself. But I'm stopping myself, so I'm gonna say goodbye to this and put the bind up on my Christmas list. Little Thieves by Margaret Owen, I really want to reread. It's staying. Bone Child Emperor by Andrea Stewart is obviously staying. This is one of my favourite series. I love it so much. This stack is getting very precarious because I started with paperbacks and moved on to hardbacks. Foolish me. This is a copy of Aragon because I recently filmed my Inheritance Cycle review. It now needs to go downstairs and live with the rest of its friends. Trouble with Peace and a Little Hatred, The Wisdom of Crowds is just behind me. We'll come onto it. These are staying. I'm going to keep them upstairs because I really liked them. And I paid a lot of money to buy the hardback of book 1 so they would all match. So we're keeping those up here, partly as a reminder to myself that sometimes I do want books to match. Desolation Called Peace by Arcady Martin. This is staying up behind me because it's one of my favourite books. I really need to reread it. It's been a couple of years. Spinning Silver. Gonna move it downstairs, I think. I think. Yeah, that feels right. I'm keeping it, but I'm moving it downstairs. Shadow Scale, sequel to Seraphina. Rereading this in a couple of weeks, so it's going to stay up here for now. I'm going to keep this upstairs while Seraphina and Shadow Scale are still upstairs because that makes sense to me. Don't ask me why, it just does, it makes sense. Oh, what a big empty space. I'm sorry, this is going to get echoey as we go. The Mirror Season by A.M. McLemore, I'm going to hang on to. Really liked this. Would like to reread it again in the future. The Schwab's The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, ditto. Keeping it. Here's that third book in that series. It's staying on the shelves. 10,000 Doors of January. I think I brought this up here because I had to review it and then it's not made its way back downstairs yet, but I am taking it downstairs. I've got to reduce the amount of books on these shelves somehow. Harry the Ninth. I'm going to keep it up here. I like the cover. It pleases me. When the Moon Was Ours is my favourite A.M. McLemore, so that's staying as well. Where is the third book in this series? Oh, it's here. Okay. Winter of the Witch and The Girl in the Tower are books 2 and 3 in the opposite order to what I've just said of the Winter Night trilogy. One of my favourite trilogies. It's staying and it's staying up here. We didn't put a big dent in any of that. I think almost everything of that stayed. Oh well. Do I put it back together now to avoid having a total mess around me? I think that's what we're going to have to do. Okay, so my next shelf kind of goes pink and purple through to blue because I have a lot more blue covers than anything else because fantasy leans that way. This is my copy of Crumbs. This is a graphic novel. I'm going to unhaul this. This is an arc. I enjoyed it when I read it. I'm not going to read it again. Magic Steeped in Poison. Really enjoyed. Really excited for the sequel. Hanging on to it. This copy of Reign of the Fallen was actually Justine's copy that she gave to me because she knew I had a copy of the sequel Song of the Dead and I wanted them to be together. I don't know if I'm going to reread this series and love it again, but for now, they're staying because I'm pleased that I finally have matching hardbacks. The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein is one of my favourite books. I normally read it every year around about Halloween. I didn't read it this year, but it's staying until such time as I read it and it doesn't make me feel things. Frances Harding's A Face Like Glass. I love it. It's going downstairs though. Daughter of the Burning Kingdom I think is also going to go downstairs because I've talked about it a fair amount on this channel. I don't think I have too much more to say. I don't need it behind me. Marvellous Light. It's staying. I love this book. In the Serpent's Wake, similar to Tess of the Road, it's staying up here unless I decide to move all of the Seraphina books downstairs. Galaxy in the Grand Within, another Becky Chambers, another favourite, it's staying. Discord of Gods, another favourite, it's staying. Seraphina, I just mentioned it, it's staying. I feel like these shelves we're not going to unhaul very much. These are typically my favourites. Nettle and Bone, it's obviously staying. In fact, it might be able to just go up there. The Archer at Dawn, this is going on the TBR, so it's going on the TBR pile. I know I said I was going to move all of the Sanderson downstairs, but this is the full Skyward series. I'm going to keep them up here for now because I want to at the moment. But if books from downstairs need to move upstairs, we'll swap them over. But I'm just going to pop them just out of frame. They're just here. You'll know they're there. Sword of Kaigen. It's obviously staying. This is on my TBR. It needs to go in the TBR pile. This is one of the very few, I think I only own 2 of the Wayward Children series in actual physical form. These are obviously staying. Will it slot up here? No, that is now full. Okay, no, now I know. Let's put the shelf together again. It's okay because I think I'm going to be able to fill this gap. I don't think that's going to be a problem. This bottom shelf here is actually all sewing patterns which I recently sorted out, so let's shift to the red shelf. Rainbow flag, because obviously. Let's pop this up here for now. Oh, this is the box for my my Yorkshire Ghost Merchant's ghost. What do I want to do with that? See, this is such a beautiful box. Am I just keeping the box for the sake of keeping the box, or is it a beautiful thing that I want to keep and collect? I think I'm going to keep and collect it. Let's go through pile by pile again. Bear and the Nightingale, obviously staying. Love it. Cemetery Boys, staying for now. I want to do a reread of it and decide if I think it's leaning too YA for me. We're gonna make a decision. Some more A.M. McLemore. I'm keeping hold of all of this for now. I might get rid of Lake Law. We'll see when we come to it, but for the moment, those are some really good ones. Very excited for the sequel to Iron Widow. Going to read it, keeping hold of this. Shawfall, one of my favourite series, keeping it. Jasmine Throne, absolutely love, keeping it. Hench, very much enjoyed, would probably reread in the future, or would lend out to people. I think that's more what this one's for. So that one can go downstairs. Golden Enclaves is staying. I recently bought this. I'm not going to get rid of things I bought recently. Ithaca by Claire North, I'm actually going to put downstairs, but I am going to hold on to it because I kind of want to read the sequel, because apparently the narrator is different and I'm interested to see what goes on there. Pop it on the going downstairs pile. The Rune of Kings is staying. It's one of my favourites. Bone Shard Daughter. Oh, do I even need to say it? It's staying. It's staying. Hollow Empire by Sam Hawke, I'm going to take downstairs, but I do really love this book. My Goldsboro edition of Priory of the Orange Tree is going to stay up here. I do actually have a reread plan for this next year, I think. Now you're starting to see where I've got double stacked books. This is the problem we're trying to solve in this video. Josie Jeffrey's Mayday. It's going downstairs, but I really, really love that, and I'm very excited for more books from Josie in the future. God of Lost Words. I'm going to keep it upstairs because I really like this series. I would like a reminder to reread it next year. Prayer for the Crown Shy. It's staying. Library of the Unwritten. It's staying for the same reason. Strange Practice is going on the TBR, even though I've already read it because I know the other 2 books are going on the TBR and I'm going to want to read all 3 of them. Lies Not. It's staying. Grave Practice. TBR. Redemption in Indigo. I'm going to unhaul this. I'm not going to read this again. Somebody else will love this book. Autonomous Universe by Annalee Newitz. Love this book, want to reread it in the future, so probably should keep it upstairs so that I remember to do that. Neil Shusterman's Scythe, love it, it's going downstairs. To Be With Its Friends. City of Lies by Sam Hawke, ditto. Gonna go downstairs because I've just put the other one to go downstairs. That's how that works. The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. It's been double stacked for too long. It needs to shine on the shelves. And I Darken by Kirsten White needs to go downstairs to join the other ones of its friends. This Mortal Coil. I keep this series around. I like it. I'm gonna read it again in the future. It's staying. Jade War, you could stay. Cersei, also staying. Phoenix Extravagant is staying. This stack is now. We're gonna have to put the shelf back together very quickly because the last one is Muse of Nightmares, and this is also staying because I love it so much. Right. Where do we stand on series staying together? Because I like having these shelves colour-coded because it's kind of like a set. It makes me feel good. It makes me happy in my soul. But I'm very aware that I have like 2 books in a series next to each other and the third one is down on the bottom shelf. Should I be trying to combine them? I'm not going to at the moment, but let me know what your thoughts are. The green shelf is probably the most packed shelf, so we're going to just start and see how far through we get. Look at this. The shameful double stacking. All of these books that haven't seen the light of day that I can't remember that I have because I don't see them. Mexico Gothic, it's staying. The Last Graduate, it's staying. The Lie Tree by Frances Hardinge, it's staying. On different shelves. Broken God by Gareth Hanrahan. Love it, staying. Going downstairs with its friends. Jade City, staying. Staying upstairs. I'm trying not to separate series too much, but it's not a guaranteed, like a lot of Chorus of Dragons is downstairs, but those books are so big they would fill up the whole shelves. Grace of Kings, staying upstairs partly as a reminder to me every day that I need to finish that series. This is Tales of Cat and Fisher. It's a TBR book. We're going to see how I feel about the first books in the series and then maybe pick up the other ones. Foundry Side is staying. Far Wilder Magic. Am I going to read this again? Probably. And I also really love looking at the cover. I think it is aesthetically pleasing and it brings me joy. There we go. This is staying up here to remind me to reread the Broken Earth trilogy next year. Making a list of that at some point in the future. Come on, we're going to solve this double stacking problem. Skinful of Shadows is staying. Frances Hardinge. Love it. Wild Beauty, I'm going to keep for another year. And then we're going to see. If I don't want to reread it next year, then we're going to cut back on the amount of A.M. Macklemore that I own. Oleander Sword by Tasha Suri. Love it. Probably needs to go on the blue shelf because the spine is mostly blue, so we'll pop that in the find a spot for it section. Upright Women Wanted is staying. Every Hushed Doorway is staying. Deep Light by Frances Hardinge. Still kicking myself for not buying a hardback copy of it. Need to do so in the future. Going downstairs with the other Frances Hardinge paperbacks. Sin Eater's Daughter is actually a book that needs to go downstairs because the other books are downstairs, but I would like to reread it again in the future. I'll just have to remember. Once and Future. I've talked about this in pretty much every unhaul I've done because I don't actually really like this book. I just like what it represents. There are other books now that represent me better, I feel. This can go in the unhaul pile. Count of Monte Cristo, gift from my sibling for Christmas 2 years ago. Finally read it, enjoyed it. It can go now. I do not plan on rereading The Count of Monte Cristo, and if I did, I could definitely get a copy. Legends and Lattes has been double stacked for so long. I would like it to have a place, and that place is right there. Happiness. It is back on the shelf. Burning God by R.F. Kuang. Going downstairs, but hanging on to it, even though it's something of a disappointing ending to a series. Enki Jemisin, 100,000 Kingdoms. It's staying. Is this another one that probably ought to be on this shelf because it's vaguely yellow? Yes. But now I can't add any more to that, so noted. Shadow Saint by Gareth Hanrahan. It's going downstairs with the other one. Let's keep going. City of Stairs. On my TBR. Actually, reading it this month. Carter Prayer. Going downstairs. Jade Legacy, staying. The Daughter of Dr. Moreau has actually been facing pages out for quite some time because I really love the green colour of these sprayed edges. I've also seen it with bright pink sprayed edges. I don't know if there are multiple editions, but this is the one I have. I'm hanging on to this. I think it's really lovely. Does it need to move? Do we think it needs to move to the pink section? Is it more suited there or is it more green? Let's just put it there where no one can really see it and that'll be fine. Sign for the Wild Build. It's staying! Mask of Mirrors, also staying. So excited for book 3 next year. Dreadful Company. This is going on the TBR. One Dark Window. Holding on to it for now. We're seeing how the sequel goes, but it can stay up here for now. That's fine. I don't mind. Master of Jin. Really love it. Winter's Orbit. Also really love it. Gonna see whether they stay upstairs or go downstairs based on how these shelves look when I've filled them up again. It's where King of Assassins went. I lost it. I couldn't find it. It was behind everything. That's on the TBR. Fallible Justice is actually going to stay up here. I really enjoy that and I would like to keep hold of it. Other Words for Smoke by Sarah Maria Griffin. I really like this book. I don't think I'm going to read it again. Realistically, I don't think in my lifetime I'm going to read it again. It's going in the unhaul pile. Secret of the Sirens is one of my favourite books from my childhood. It's going to go live downstairs with some of the other sentimental books that I can look at while I'm eating dinner. Broken Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. This is staying up here because the other books are staying up here. This is a hugely sentimental book to me. This is Once Upon a Winter. It's an anthology. It's a collection of short stories, including one short story from my very dear friend, Adie Hart, and she signed it for me, and it's just lovely. Lovely. If you haven't already read, You should read. It's good. Let's put the shelf back together and see where we stand. It's not the neatest thing, but it's getting there. It's getting there. I actually have one shelf left, so let's reset the cameras, go one more time. We may as well finish this shelf, right? We may as well. The bottom shelf is, in theory, white and black books, or parchment colour and black books. It's a bit of a mess down there. We're just going to work our way through. Joe Abercrombie, the Great Leveller collection, is on my TBR, so pop that there. Ninth Reign is going on the Film It pile. There we go. Here's the other Tamara Pierce book. I said we were going to find it. It's going on the Film It pile. City of Brass. I'm keeping it. It needs to go downstairs with all of its friends. None of the Ninth. I left Harrow up here, didn't I? I did. So this needs to... Still not the neatest thing, but it can't go there. Gallant by V. Schwab. I think I'm going to also keep up here for now. Let's see what the shelves look like when I'm done. And Tide Child. I'm keeping it up here, because I think the other two books are up here as well, so we'll find them in the quest. Speaking of quests, Assassin's Quest. The original Royal Assassin's Apprentice trilogy by Robin Hobb. I think I would quite like these to go downstairs, so we'll pop them down there, but their stacks are getting a little bit too big. New stack. Bloodhound by Tamara Pierce is on the TBR. I said I had those other two Bone Ships books. They're all staying up here. Turning Darkness into Light, one of my favourite books. Keeping it. Vicious and Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. I said I had more V.E. Schwab hardbacks up here. That's why these are. Small Favours by Erin A. Craig. Also going to keep it up here unless for some reason I don't have enough shelf space, but I definitely do because I can see it. Mug, that is 101 Dalmatians, and it's the Canine Crunchies champion advert. It's so cute. It needs to live on my shelves. My little ghost. Gonna go sit on his ghost box that I have saved because it's a good box, and it also... There we go, it's done. Neil Gaiman's Sleeper in the Spindle is up here because I reviewed it. It needs to go back downstairs with the rest of the Neil Gaiman. Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, I bought recently. I want to keep it. Obviously. Babel by R.F. Kuang. Keeping it. Should it go downstairs? I think it can stay upstairs. I've not actually put the video out for that yet at the time of filming, so it can stay up for now. Terrier. On the TBR. Archive of the Forgotten. I mentioned I had the other book in this series. It could maybe go up here, but it's not going to. I'm just going to keep on hold of it. It can stay up here for now. Echo Wife by Sarah Gailey. I'm going to pop downstairs where most of the other Sarah Gailey is. Not because I don't love it, because I do. I'm keeping my copy of Dowry of Blood. You can't see the cover in these lights, but oh, it's such a beautiful cover. Much nicer than the new one, in my opinion. It's staying. Piranesi. It's staying. Love that book. Twilight Robbery by Frances Harding on the TBR. Love it. House of Shattered Wings, another great trilogy, the rest of which are downstairs. House of Salt and Sorrows. I'm keeping the other Erin A. Craig up here, so I may as well keep this one up here as well. And I think it can probably go here. Doesn't work for the colour coordination, but you can't see that anyway. Let's put the books back, and then we'll close out this segment. Okay, all of those fit reasonably well. As you can see, they just come up to here, so I'm actually going to put the Robin Hobb back, mostly just to reduce echo. There we go. Right, I now have to do the big job of moving all of the books that need to go downstairs, which is going to be several trips up and down the stairs when my legs are already quite sore from the gym. So, never mind. I'll probably jump forward. It'll be me from the future, maybe in a couple of days, when I've sorted more stuff out. So I shall see you in the next clip for you. For me, it may be sometime. Welcome down to the place where the lighting and the audio are probably much worse. Hi, welcome to downstairs. I'm sat on the floor. The dog's very confused as to what I'm doing down here. I don't think I filmed a video here since we moved into this house, and I'm hoping you can tell why. I'm going to colour correct this as best I can, but it's very orange in here. So, we're down here because it's time to sort these shelves out. It's been about a week and a half since I last talked to you on this video, so if anything looks different, I'm sorry, I'm very tired. I just got back from London, but we need to sort some books. So, starting, I have sorted out my shelves a tiny bit in that I've got rid of all of the junk that was on them because they were just littered with knickknacks. It's become a little bit of a dumping ground. That's all now on the top shelf for me to deal with in a future time where I feel like I want to, and I've also alphabetized all the books that I brought down from upstairs in order to make it possible for me to put them back on the shelves in a sensible manner. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull everything down shelf by shelf, I'm going to go through it all, I'm going to alphabetize it, and then at the end I'll put everything back rather than putting it out piece by piece, which does mean it's going to get progressively more echoey in this video, but that's just something for you to enjoy. The thing you should know about these shelves is that they are in theory in alphabetical order. Upstairs I have everything in colour, downstairs it's alphabetical because I don't care as much about these looking nice. I appreciate that for some people that sounds incredibly stressful. For me, upstairs is for filming, so it has to look nice behind me. Downstairs is just for being able to find things. However, in the past year that we've lived here, I have been progressively taking stuff upstairs to film videos and then bringing everything down in one fell swoop with like 30 books at a time and then shoving them back on the shelves where they fit because I don't have time to alphabetize them. So it's not in alphabetical order. It's vaguely there. Some things have migrated across the shelves a little bit, but we're putting it right today. Let's go, top shelf. I'm just gonna start with what's next to me, really. Master of Gin by P. Jelly Clark. I already have another copy of this. I got sent 2 copies by Orbit by accident, so I'm getting rid of this, but not because I didn't like the book, but because I don't need 2 of things. The Last Namsara by Kirsten Kitcherelli. I'm not going to keep this anymore. I kept it because I like this book. The series as a whole, not great. I've talked about this in previous unhauls. In fact, I think in my last 2 unhauls I talked about this. But I'm now at a point where I think that realistically I'm not going to read this again, and if I did want to read it again, I'd probably be able to obtain a copy. And this is the Fairy Loot edition, and it deserves to go to someone nice. To Kill a Kingdom by Alexander Christo. This is my favourite YA Little Mermaid retelling. I'm going to keep this, but if I don't reread this within the next 2 years, I think it probably will go, just because I'm trying to weed out some more of that YA, and I'm trying not to keep as much this time. This is going to be a bit of a brutal purge down here, I think. An obvious yes, Closed in Common Orbit is staying, so this is the first one that I now need to put in the right place. There we go, that's where C is. Likewise, To Be Taught Fortunate, if I ever get rid of a Becky Chambers, assume that something has gone terribly wrong. Long Way to a Small Angry Planet is also here, that's staying. Ooh, interesting, okay. Notorious Sorcerer, I'm keeping until the sequel comes out because I know I want to reread this before the sequel to see if the sequel's any good, and also to judge whether the reason I didn't love this, whether it was how I was reading it, the state of mind I was in, or if I didn't get on with the writing. I just want to feel that out. That is by Davinia Evans. So, do I have an E pile yet? No. Similarly, The Stardust Thief. I enjoyed this more than I liked Notorious Sorcerer, but I'm still in kind of that, do I want to keep this? Do I want to read the sequel? How do I feel about it? And I'm going to hang on to it until the sequel comes out. That's my new rule. Raw and Rage by Cora Carmack. I was keeping these in order to read the 3rd one, but given that I still haven't got around to that, and one of my biggest takeaways from this series was that it was very YA, and I don't really read YA anymore, I think these are going to find a new home. I have the Empire of Gold and the Kingdom of Copper on this top shelf because I put them there ages ago. These are obviously staying. That's a favourite series. The Stolen Kingdom we read as a Space Sirens book club a while ago. This was a Kerry recommendation, and I remember saying at the time, I was surprised that I actually would like to read the sequels. So I'm going to add this to my sequel tracker, Editing Judith, if you could do that now, because I know you're on a laptop, and I'm going to hang on to this. Roseanne Brown's Song of Wraiths and Ruin, I'm hanging on to until I've read the sequel. I suspect this will be another YA sequel comes out and then I unhaul it, but I'm keeping it until I've read it. Oh, this is tricky because I've had these for so long. Julie C. Dow's Song of the Crimson Flower and Forest of a Thousand Lanterns. Do I keep these? Am I going to reread these? I think if I was going to reread one, it would be Forest of a Thousand Lanterns. But I don't actually think I have a desire to reread them. These are going in the maybe pile. In fact, no, I'm going to get rid of Song of the Crimson Flower because it was just okay. Forest of a Thousand Lanterns is going in the maybe pile, which I still haven't dealt with from last video, so that's okay. House of Sundering Flames by Aliade de Bodard. This is staying, as is the first one. Mirage by Samaya Dowd, I am actually going to keep. I need to put this on my wish list because I don't own a copy of the sequel and I really like the sequel, and this is the Fairy Loot edition with sprayed edges and it's nice and I want to keep it. The pile of paperbacks that was on that shelf. Palom by L.L. McNeil, I'm hanging on to because I want to finish that series. This Poison Heart by Kaylin Bayron. This was, I think, Justine's or Ash's copy that they gifted to me because they weren't such a huge fan. I'm keeping it. Arch Enemies by Marissa Mayer. I'm hanging on to this series for now. If I don't reread it within the next 2 years, or I don't have a desire to read it in the next 2 years, that will also go. Legendborn. Loved it. Hanging on to it because I still need to read the sequel. In fact, need to buy a copy of the sequel. That should be on my list of things to do. The Night Circus. If I ever get rid of this, again, assume something has gone wrong. Marauder. That's the first book in that series by L.L. McNeil, so I'm hanging on to all of those. House of Binding Thorns is staying. The Tangled Lands, this is one of my first overbooked videos, and I really love this book, and I actually read a short story by Tobias S. Buckle in Africa Risen, and I really enjoyed it. It reminded me how much I like this book, so this is staying. Future of Another Timeline, another recent review, loved it. Wild Seed by Octavia Butler, I'm hanging on to this until I've read the other books, but I'm probably not going to buy the other books, so I think in the fullness of time, unless I absolutely love the rest of that series, this might head out the door, but we'll see. Right, I'm going to alphabetize these, and then I'll come back to you. One shelf down. Let's go. Oh no, this is already falling over. There we go. Crownbreaker by Sebastian de Castiel. I can see myself rereading the whole Spellslinger series in the future. I recently read it. I read it within the last year and a half or so. Would like to reread them in the future, and having them around is good. I also know there are other books in the series somewhere on these shelves, so we'll find those as we go. This is the Baru Cormorant Tyrant Masquerade, that's the word I'm looking for, series by Seth Dickinson. I really enjoyed these. I think it's going to be a long wait till the next one comes out, so I'm going to hang on to these until that time comes. Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere is one of the few Gaiman books that I actually really do love, so I'm hanging on to that. Magic for Liars by Sarah Gailey. This is like the bright book that I can never... It always looks so unusual on my shelves because everything else is so like dark and stormy. But I really like this book and I love Sarah Gailey, so I'm hanging on to it. Laura Eves' The Graces. I do enjoy this book. I didn't like the sequel. Do I think realistically I'm going to reread it again? Probably not now the overbooked video is done, so let's say goodbye. The Seafarer's Kiss by Julia Ember. I like to keep around because it's bisexual, The Little Mermaid, and I love that, so I'm keeping it. It's one of the first books I got wind of when I started
reading books for blogs and such, and that was very enjoyable for me. This Is How You Lose the Time War is a classic. It's staying. Unconquerable Sun, I'm hanging on to because the sequel comes out next year, and I'm excited to read that. Bloody Rose by Nicholas Eames. I think... Do I have a copy of Kings of the Wild? Maybe I need to put that on my filling up the shelves book list to clog some of the gaps, because I thought I owned up, but I don't. But I like this book, so I'm keeping it. And I think the third book is due out at some point in the future. American Hippo, more Sarah Gailey, love that, keeping it. The Fabric of Civilization, this is a non-fiction book that I got. Am I going to read it again? Probably not. I might see if my mum wants to read it, and if not, then it will go away. But I don't have a pile for see if my mum wants to read it. Kingdom of Souls by Rena Barron. This is an old ARC copy. I've kept this around because I want to reread it before reading the sequel. I've just got a lot of YA sequels to get to, and obviously I haven't wanted to read them because I haven't been wanting to read YA, but then I'm still hanging on to the first one until I finish it. Add it to the sequel tracker. Get to it within the next year. Supernova by Marissa Mayer. I've talked about the Marissa Mayer books already. I'm keeping that. This is a copy of Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales. This was given to us by my sister-in-law at our wedding, so I'm obviously keeping hold of this. I've never actually sat down and read this all the way through, but it is just a very lovely thing to have. And I've read most of them, like, in isolation. A Lonely World Where the People Are Blue by Reyes Morfin. I'm gonna unhaul. I can't remember why. Oh, Asha recommended this, and then I put it on my wish list to remind me to buy the Kindle edition, and then my grandmother-in-law bought me the physical copy, and then I liked it, but I haven't heard good things about the sequel, so I'm gonna unhaul that. Stardust is the other Neil Gaiman book. I think there were 3 Neil Gaiman books that I'm keeping, actually, but one of them is a picture book, so I feel like that counts differently. Stardust is the other Neil Gaiman book I'm keeping because I love it, and I love watching the film, and it reminds me to watch the film, and then I can read the book and watch the film and just do that. Flip-flop in between the two for all of eternity. Alright, here's a tricky one. I have a very, very old review copy of Children of Blood and Bone and a hardback sprayed edges copy of the sequel, Children of Virtue and Vengeance. I believe that the third book is due out next year, but I have a feeling that even though I would quite like to read it and see how it goes and polish off the series, I don't think I'm going to want to keep these afterwards. I think they could probably go to a better home. So I'm going to unhaul both of these, because also that is the kind of thing that I could very easily get from my local library. So that's fine. Right, another round of putting things into alphabetical piles and then shoving everything off the next shelf. Although this shelf here, which is the next one, is actually just all notebooks. So I'm going to leave that be for now. This is a random quiz from my cousin's hen do. I should recycle that. I did just put a stack of books down on my hand. Okay, so a lot of these are books that were on my... How do I describe it? My, like, not aesthetic shelves, in that I had a lot of books that were kind of, like, contemporary YA, which I don't read a lot of, and it was looking really weird in the background of videos where I used to film. I'm not bothered about that anymore, because I live here and I can put my books downstairs however I want them. So we're going to sort all these out. Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang. I really love this. It's a very cute graphic novel. Brings me a lot of joy. I can't pull all the Heartstopper out, but I own all the Heartstopper graphic novels. I'm also keeping those. If I ever get rid of a Frances Harding, something has gone terribly wrong. Again, non-fiction I was keeping separate from everything else. I'm going to make a non-fiction pile and I'm going to go through it and decide if it's stuff that I want to reread. Oh, but in case you want to know, it's Monster, She Wrote, which is about the history of speculative fiction about women, and Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, which is Caitlin Doughty's memoir. I'm going to keep at least one of those. Poetry, and Then Came the Flood by Lacey Roop and The Madness Files by Andrea Gibson. I love both of these. They're staying. The Weight of Feathers by Anne McLemore. I did that project earlier in the year. You've heard me talk about this. I love it. I'm keeping it. Book 3 of The Live Ship Traders, just randomly on this middle shelf. It's staying, but what was past me doing? Burning Roses is a novella that I'm keeping. The other 2 Heartstopper books. The Once and Future Witches I'm going to keep around until my wife has read it. She was recommended it by someone who wasn't me. I know, shocking. I'm going to hang on to this, see if she wants me to keep it, because she likes to keep books that she's read physically, and even if I'm kind of like so-so about whether I'm going to reread it, she can put it in her office and it's out of the way. So that's staying for now. Bookish and the Beast I'm actually going to keep, not because I'm like particularly, ooh, this was the best book ever, but sometimes when I want a comfort read, I do turn to YA contemporary. I don't know what happens. So yeah, I'm going to hang on to that for the same reason as I'm hanging on to Mammoth, which is just a really sweet story about a girl who wants to be a paleontologist, and she's plus size, and it's a really beautiful book, and I want to keep it. No judgment for how much I talk about how I don't read YA contemporary. 2 more books in the Chorus of Dragons series. There are a couple more dotted about these shelves in various places. I'm hanging on to this series because I like it, and even though it hit me in the face just then. Are we done with that shelf? No, of course we're not. Ballet Shoes by Noel Streatfeild. This is a classic from my childhood that I'm hanging on to for nostalgia reasons. Inkheart by Cornelia Funk. This was on my wishlist for a very long time. I got it, I read it, I liked it. I think I would have loved it as a child. The washing machine is done. We'll go turn that off because it's going to keep beeping at me once I finish this pile. So we're just going to put up with some beeping in the background for a little bit. Don't worry about it. I'm going to unhaul this because I don't really have a big desire to read the rest of the series. I think I just came to it too late. Bernardine Evaristo's Girl, Woman, Other. I think this is a fantastic book. I'm really glad that it won the Booker. bummer that it got shared, but never mind. I'm going to unhaul this because I don't think I'm going to read it again, but I'm really glad that I did read it and I recommend it if you're interested. 2 Josie Jeffrey books randomly floating about. I'm keeping them. I really like those series. N.K. Jemisin. If I ever throw out N.K. Jemisin, something's gone wrong. And the original Joe Abercrombie trilogy, the First Law trilogy, that's what it's called. This is staying as well. I thought there would be more unhauling from that, but actually a lot of that I'm keeping for nostalgia reasons, so it's okay. I really thought I would be unhauling more. Maybe it'll come in the later shelves, I don't know. State of Sorrow and Song of Sorrow. This is one of the exceptions to my rule of not keeping duplicates because I do own a hardback copy of State of Sorrow, but this is signed and personalised to me, so I'm going to keep it. I'll turn you off in a second, washing machine, I'm sorry. This Song of Sorrow is also signed, so I'm keeping both of those, thank you. This is an arc of Gallant. I'm going to get rid of this because this will bring somebody else who collects V. Schwab arcs joy, and also I already own this in hardback, and we're not hanging on to things just because they were sent to us. That's silly. Some Brandon Sanderson, that's staying. The Illuminae Chronicles by J. Christoph and Amy Kaufman. I talked a lot about these in a review of them. I don't particularly want to hang on to these, but I suspect my wife will. So I'm going to put them in the unhaul pile. She's going to go through the unhaul pile and see what she wants to keep. We're on the last shelf of this first bookshelf. I thought you might like to know. I also have an arc here that I'm not going to talk about because it got sent to me by people who I don't think should have had my address, and I think they kept it cheekily for over 2 years. And I'm actually going to unhaul it and probably just get rid of it because I don't want to give press to people who are involved in dodgy data practices. Daughter of the Siren Queen by Trisha Levenseller. I'm going to unhaul this, and I should have the other one somewhere. There we go, Daughter of the Pirate King. I'm going to unhaul both of these, not because I don't like them as a duology, but I am out of the phase of my life where I love these books, so I'm just going to gift them to someone else. I'm keeping all of the Josie Jeffrey because I really love these, and at some point I'm going to want to do a big juicy Josie Jeffrey reread. All of the vampire books are staying. The N.K. Jemisin is staying. The Andrea Gibson Poetry Collection is staying. I have 2 copies of Indie Bites, which is a magazine that a friend of mine and another friend work on together. They are contain short stories from one of my dearest friends, and I love them very much. And if you haven't already checked out Indie Bites, you should. I have some T. Kingfisher, A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. Love this book. Love T. Kingfisher. Keeping it. Some more Robin Hobb. Also keeping it. Kind of need to fill out the rest of my Robin Hobb collection, but that's a future me problem. A slightly beat up copy of The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. It's staying. The Poppy War and The Dragon Republic, both staying. Aha, I knew I had this. I talked about this earlier. For you, it'll be like 5 minutes ago. For me, it's a while back. Curse So Dark and Lonely. I'm unhauling it. Even though it's absolutely beautiful, stunning Fairy Loot edition, it's moving its way out of my life. Age of Ash by Daniel Abraham I'm hanging on to until the sequel comes out because I want to know how this whole, it's a trilogy and they all intersect together and all that stuff works, but realistically it may end up being unhauled. My very beat up copy of Eragon, this is another one where I'm going to break my rule of not keeping duplicates because this is my actual copy from childhood and I love it even though I have a snazzier version now. It's going over there. More Chorus of Dragons. It's staying. That other book, I said I had one of the other Spellslinger books. I found it. There we go. There it is. Oh look, we're done. We've done a whole bookshelf worth of books. Aren't you proud of me? I got rid of not very many things. We need to work harder. We need to be more brutal, I think is what I'm learning here. I think either that or it's because I was so brutal in past book purges where I'd done the overbooked bit for this shelf that I think the earlier alphabet is just easier. Reset the camera, turn off the washing machine. Do the thing. Top shelf of the second bookshelf. I think there are fewer books on this, maybe. We'll see. I've already been going for half an hour, so... She Who Became the Sun is staying. Children of Time is staying. I need to figure out a way to get these labels off, but that's a second-hand copy that is staying. Riot Baby, I very recently reviewed, and I liked it, and I would like to read it again in the future and see if my opinions on it change at all, so that's staying. I love this special edition very much. It's very beautiful, and it was sent to me for free, and I'm very grateful for that, but I'm realistically never going to read Dune again, so thank you very much for your service, Dune. It's good to be able to say I've read Dune. Certain Dark Things by Sylvia Marina Garcia I really liked on my most recent reread, and I'm tempted to keep it just because I love Sylvia Marina Garcia, but I think realistically, if I'm going to reread her works, I'll probably reread other ones, so I'm going to unhaul this as well. This is a card that says Happy Easter on it. It's from my grandmother. Let's keep that somewhere nice. To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. I might want to reread this one day, and honestly, I'm keeping it. I don't know why. It's what I'm doing. We're in the Paolini pile at the moment. Do you remember me saying in my Inheritance Cycle review that all of my copies were a little bit beat up? Well, this is the least beat up of all of them. And then we come on to Brisingir, that's, yeah, it's not great. An Eldest, that it's not great. So, excuse how terrible they look, but they are very nostalgic to me. In contrast, this is a very nice copy of Gideon the Ninth. I'm keeping it until the series is done. And then I'll probably give them all to Katie to keep in her office because they make me upset. Where did my coffee go? Oh no. How have I lost a Oh, it's over there. There's a sea of books between me and my coffee. It's not going to happen. My bisexual ghost. And this sticker. I should do something with this sticker and this ghost. Second shelf, let's go. The second shelf immediately fell down, but we're going to work through it. Breaking Legacies, I read this, it was on a wish list, someone bought it for me, I liked it. I'm not going to keep it though because it wasn't like crazy amazing and I don't want to read it again. This is an art copy of Winter of the Witch. I'm going to try and be good and talk about what I said before, which is that I already own this in hardback. I don't also need to own the art copy and it might bring someone else joy. Night Flights by Philip Reeve. This is the only one of the Mortal Instruments books that I actually own. Not Mortal Instruments, what am I talking about? Mortal Engines books that I actually own. And I remember loving reading them and I kind of want to own them all with these beautiful new covers. So this is sort of staying as a reminder to me to eventually buy those. Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I wasn't going to keep this and then I heard rumours that there's going to be a sequel or something. I feel like I saw that on Twitter. But potentially Twitter will be gone by the time I'm editing this, so I cannot confirm that or deny it. I'm just going to hang on to it and hope, because I like a silly YA wizard boyfriend time. Far from the Light of Heaven by Tay Thompson was another Space Sirens book, and actually I did enjoy this, and I think I have friends who would like to read this, and I would potentially read it again in the future, so I'm going to keep that. We have more Melinda Salisbury. I'm going to keep the 2 books that are in the Sin Eater's Daughter series, because I like that series and I'd like to reread it. It's been many years since I read it. I'm not going to hang on to Hold Back the Tide though. This just felt a little bit lackluster for me. It wasn't great. I know some people it's their absolute favourite, but just for me, wasn't what I wanted. Memory Called Empire by Arcady Martin. This is obviously staying. That's one of my favourites. Uprooted by Naomi Novik. Equally. Also, one of my favourites is staying. I have Going Postal, Good Omens, Thud, and Hogfather. All of these are staying and they need to go upstairs because I'm about to have to film overbooked videos for them, so we'll pop them just there. Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear I'm hanging on to in the hope that one day we'll ever get the 3rd book. We probably won't, but I can hang on to them and hope. That aforementioned hardback copy of State of Sorrow, keeping it because it's a beautiful hardback copy. Or no, do I get rid of it because it's signed with a book plate? Do I need 2 copies? No. I'm being very good. Very, 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 very good. I'm gonna earn that lunch that I'm gonna buy myself when I'm done. More Christopher Paolini. It's staying. Karen Memory by Elizabeth Bear. I'm gonna keep hold of. I might reread this. If I don't reread this in the next 2 years, this will say goodbye to. Melissa Bashardou's Girls Made of Snow and Glass. I am gonna hang on to actually. I wasn't going to, but I think why not? I've got rid of a number of books. And Amara by L.L. McNeil is also staying. We'll do this shelf in 2 halves because there's too many books around me right now. It's getting very overwhelming. A lot of this is V. Schwab, all of which I'm going to keep. City of Ghosts I'm going to keep. Even though I didn't love the sequel and haven't read any subsequent books, am I just justifying it because it's V. Schwab? Could I get this again? Could I read this again? No, I want to keep it. I want to keep it. I like ghosts. My mismatched special editions of the Dark Shade of Magic series I'm keeping. The Beast Heart by Leif Shallcross I'm also going to keep, I think, because I can't think of a reason not to. Shadows of the Short Days I have on my I would really like to reread this list, so that's staying. This is my other copy of the Bone Season. I thought I'd got rid of this one, so I can unhaul the slightly damaged version. That's fine. We'll keep the nicer one for me, because I can. I have duplicates of these, don't I? I have 2 of these, so I don't need to keep the second one. That's okay. I'll double check upstairs, but I'm pretty sure I have a second one of those. This is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. Yes. This needs to go upstairs because it needs to go on the TBR pile. Very few things downstairs need to go on the TBR pile, but that is one of them. Renegades by Marissa Mayer. We've talked about Marissa Mayer already. Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I'm keeping it. Cinder by Marissa Mayer. I'm also keeping it because I own all the others on Kindle and sometimes I just want to reread that series. Dark Vault by V. Schwab is staying. Our Duck Duet and This Savage Song also staying, even though they're very YA. I'm okay with it. Tales of Cat and Fisher needs to go on the TBR pile because I am reading that in the future. Lies Not. I need to double check if I have a duplicate of this. I feel like I saw this upstairs, but maybe I'm making that up. So we're going to pop it on the unhaul pile just for now. What was that noise? I think that's someone outside. I'm sorry about it. More Jemison. It's staying. Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. I'm going to unhaul. This is some YA that I definitely enjoyed, but I'm just not planning on rereading it. More Josie Jaffrey. It's staying. The Near Witch by V. Schwab. Also staying. The Alloy of Law. This is another Sanderson. Also staying. We're getting there. Look at these empty shelves behind me. Have fun. Let's sort this pile, have a sip of coffee, regroup for the last 2 shelves. We're getting there. Last 2 shelves. I've brought my coffee over. It's going to be great. Tamara Pierce, Protect the Small Quartet. I'm keeping it. Jasmine Throne, I have a duplicate of, so this can go. Nimona, fantastic graphic novel. Keeping it. This is The Winter Nights. I'm keeping all of my Edge Chronicle books because I'm gradually trying to regain my collection of them. All of the Edge Chronicles, they're all staying. Stay with me. Dry by Neil Shusterman. I kind of want to do a reread of this before I unhaul it, so I'm going to keep hold of that for now. Mime Order by Samantha Shannon. I'm keeping it. If anyone has a hardback copy of that they're wanting to get rid of, please do let me know, because I would love to have a matching hardback, but I'm not paying ridiculous quantities of money for it, so I will trade you something for it. Nine Fox Gambit, I'm keeping. I really love this series. Ancillary Justice by Anne Leckie. This was another Space Sirens book. In fact, I think both of these were. We did some sci-fi at one time. I'm keeping this until I finish the series. Lake Law by A.M. McLemore. I'm not going to keep. Not because I didn't like it, but it's just the kind of thing that I'm not particularly likely to reread, and I'm trying not to keep things that I'm not going to reread. Arc of the Winter Garden. I might reread this. Would I reread this? If I did want to reread it, I do have friends who have a copy that I could borrow, so I appreciate you. You were a good book, but I could just reread The Night Circus and have a good time. House on the Cerulean Sea, I'm keeping. I really like this book. Two more Marissa Mayer books. These are the graphic novels. Am I going to reread these? I think I might say no, actually. While I reread the Cinder series, these didn't have a huge amount of meat to them. Not that they're not lovely, but, like, there's got to be a limit, and eventually, yeah. When I think about someone having to deal with these books when I die, I try and get into that mindset, which is maybe a little bit morbid, but hey, that's the channel. So, for instance, when I die, someone will be like, wow, she really loved that copy of Warrior of the Wild. No, I'm not going to reread this, but that doesn't mean I didn't like it at the time. That doesn't mean I don't devalue the person who gave me this book. Because that's the thing, a lot of these were gifted, and then I feel extra bad unhauling things that were gifted because it feels like, oh, but the person spent money on that, but that's not a good mindset to have, and odds are the person may not even remember that they did it, and or will not watch this video, so it's fine. Thunderhead and the Toll. Keeping. I will one day reread Arc of a Scythe in full. Queen in Hiding. Surprisingly. Actually going to keep this. Might reread the books in the future. Oh, why do I have such an emotional attachment to arcs? I don't know what it is. I own a copy of The Bone Shard Daughter. I don't need to own the arc copy anymore. I have a copy I can lend out. I have a copy that I love. Why am I attached to this arc? Why do I want to keep this? And is it a bad thing that I want to keep it? Or is it okay that I want to keep it? I'm going to keep it for now. Just because I can't quite work out that moral dilemma. Song Rising, Mask Falling, Samantha Shannon, I'm keeping them. The Deep by River Solomon, I'm keeping it. I might reread that. Starlight Barking with all of my dog tabs, I'm keeping it. It's one of the books. I got an email, welcome back again. My camera died immediately as I was about to tell you that story of the person who emailed me to tell me their opinions on the Starlight Barking because they found my video. If you're watching this, if you're a person who stuck around for my videos, like, welcome. I don't mean to insult you, but that was weird. I've sorted those books out. It's getting very, very overwhelming in here, so we do need to finish so that I can put everything back on the shelves and feel successful and not stressed. So let's keep going. The first book isn't really a book, it's a box. I'm going to keep this box, so what's in it? Is there anything exciting? No. We have a ruby and sapphire sticker that I need to give to my wife. I have this pumpkin that says spooky on it. I'm gonna stick those somewhere. Oh, I can put the papers that I was gonna deal with. Oh, look. Now it's an official procrastination box filled with papers and stickers that I need to deal with. Love it. Tangleweed and Brine by Deirdre Sullivan. I do want to reread one day, so I'm keeping that. Second and third book in the... What's the actual series called? Oh no, why won't it come to me? Mortal Coil series. I can't remember if that's what it's called. I kept book 1, so I'm keeping book 2 and 3. We'll reread that in the fullness of time. The other 2 books in the Conqueror's Saga, I'm also keeping for a future reread. The Light Between Worlds, I am mainly keeping so I can give it to one particular friend to read, but at the time that I really wanted to give it to them, they were writing a book that was very similar, and I didn't want that to be demoralizing that their book didn't already exist, because their book was very different, but like a similar theme and idea. But now they're writing something else, which is absolutely fantastic, and I hope it gets published so that I can recommend it to you. But I might recommend this to them now. Slayer by Kirsten White, I am going to unhaul. I hung on to this because I liked it compared to the other 2 books, but I think compared to other books generally, I don't really want to reread it. I'm not a huge Buffy fan. I missed the boat on it. I wasn't around for it. Nobody recommended Buffy at the right time for me. Patricia Reed's Enchanted Forest series. I'm keeping these partly for sentimental reasons and also because I really, really want to reread them. Love a little bit of that. Laini Taylor's Daughter of Smoke and Bone series. These hold an incredibly special place in my heart for multiple different reasons. Of course I'm keeping them. The Hobbit. I haven't read this since I was an actual child, so we'll see whether rereading this makes me want to read the rest of Lord of the Rings as well. I've read the first Lord of the Rings book. I haven't read the others. More Adrian Tchaikovsky. Keeping it. Silver in the Wood and The Drowned Country. These are some of my absolute favourite, all-time favourite novellas. Of course I'm keeping them. Emily Tesh has a full-length novel coming out next year, and I'm so excited for it. The Wolf of Oren Yarrow. I need to reread this. I have this on my series tracker as a series I want to finish. I know that Asher didn't love books 2 and 3. I want to reread this and then decide based on how I feel about book 1 whether I reread it. And it'll come up in Overbooks next year, I think, so we might get to it then. The Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry. This deserves a reread. I read this as part of Book a Day in June. the more I think about it, the more that was just a terrible plan. I didn't take in any of the books that I read in June's gone by unless they were rereads. I think that's the way to do it, is just do a month full of rereads, because I've already read all the books before, so I don't need to retain information as much. But yes, this deserves a reread. The Umbrella Academy graphic novel. Well, it's not, it's the comic, the original comic, I guess. I should reread this at some point and probably obtain the other one, because I do love Umbrella Academy. And Network Effect, the Murderbot novel. I don't own the novellas, I just own the novel. I'm happy about that. I like this. I like the novellas as well, but I'm trying not to own things for the sake of owning them, you know? I can reread Murderbot on other formats. Well, we got rid of fewer books than I thought I was going to, but that's not a bad thing. Like, that's okay. A good chunk of stuff to get rid of, and a lot of stuff that's I might get rid of in the future. I just need to finish the series first, which is not too bad going. So I'm gonna start putting everything back on the shelves, but I'm going to do it off camera, because what I want to do is make a note of all the things that haven't got an overbooked video yet, so that I've got a note that I need to go back and catch up on that in the future. And that's just going to be a logistical nightmare with standing up and sitting down and making notes of things on my phone. It's just going to be too stressful, so we're not going to worry about that too much. And I will come back to you in the future when I feel a bit more human and when we've got better lighting and such, and I'll give you like the final updates and stats and things. Right, let's turn off the camera, let's do the thing. Finish the coffee, put all the books back on the shelves, do the thing, and do the stop. Hi! We're here at the end of the video. Thank you so much for joining me on this book unhauling journey. These are looking reasonably nice. I need to pull all the books forward so that you don't have this big, like, empty space here and here. But that's a future Judith problem. I am so pleased with how this went. All of my books fit on the shelves, except for, like, a few exceptions that are still in piles everywhere. I haven't got rid of all of the arcs yet, because I need to put them up for trade. That's a current Judith problem. I have, however, got rid of the majority of the finished copies of books via Ziffit. I'm so pleased. I actually managed to get them out of the house. That never happens for me. I've got a tiny pile of books that just need to go to the charity shop because Ziffit won't take them. And I've got 2 things that I've unhauled since finishing that video that just needs to begin, I guess, a new unhaul pile. And then I'll try and remember to take things to the charity shop as I go, because I feel like that would be a smart thing to get in the habit of doing. All the arcs to go, bag of books to the charity shop, and then I'm basically done. And we've got a whole other year until I do another unhaul. Because I don't intend to do another brutal culling of the shelves. I think I've got much better at only hanging on to the things that I actually enjoy as I'm reading them. And next year also I'm hoping to incorporate a bit more library book reading and a bit less random book buying. So hopefully we'll just distill the shelves down to the essence of Judith and see how we go. I was originally going to have like stats of things that I unhauled and numbers and quantities and things, but honestly that's not why I did this. I just wanted things to fit on the shelves, and I've achieved that goal, and that is all I need to say about that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this has motivated you to do any kind of decluttering or clearing out that you really needed to do. If you've done that along with me, please do let me know how it went down in the comments below, or just let me know, do you feel like I betrayed your absolute favourite book ever by getting rid of it? Do you think that things should have stayed on the shelves that perhaps left? Let me know down in the comments. While you're down there commenting, please do subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated. You can also follow me on social media. You can come hang out on Discord where we have chill chats about books, and that will probably be where I post the link to the arcs that I have for trade, maybe. I haven't decided yet. I'll sort it out. I'd like to say a huge shout out to my patrons over on Patreon who support the channel and make videos like this possible. In return, they get access to live streams, early access to videos, and bonus content. If you'd like to join their number, that's linked below as well. Thank you so much for watching. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one. It's gonna be some bloopers now. But it's gonna... Hello, Luna. Are you ready to help? Are you ready to help? Excellent. Hello, I need you to go back to your bed because I'm filming, and this is going to be a long one already without little interruptions. Making a snack. Making many snacks. Everything's going to fall down. There's just a packet of cold relief there. That should probably go in the bin. That is a stack that is about to fall over. Oh, there's a lot of books to carry downstairs. I'm gonna hate myself. I'm sorry, Luna. Could you not breathe into the microphone while I'm doing this? That would be just stellar. And that's just a screw randomly on my bookshelves. I can't work out if that's the washing machine or my tinnitus. Oh, that's really disturbing. Oh, I hate that. Hearing damage is no fun, kids. Wear hearing plugs. Earplugs, that's the one. Emily Tesh has a full-length novel, I think. Yeah, that's the right word.